First, we have the Daily Yahoo from yesterday, Saturday, July 4th, Independence Day. Man in famous 9/11 photo dies from COVID-19 in Florida. I've never seen this photo before. Stephen Cooper, an electrical engineer, was delivering documents near the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001, when he heard a police officer yell, "You have to run." So he ran. Good for him. A cop said you have to run, and he turned and fucking ran. He didn't say, "Fuck you, pig, I don't have to listen to you." He turned and ran. Good for him. Good for all these people. Sorry. Anyway. Costco Karen goes viral after she throws temper tantrum for being asked to wear a face mask. A video of the incident shows the woman throwing a temper tantrum before dropping to the ground and asserting her constitutional rights. Yeah, that's not normally Karen. All you people who insist that everybody has to wear their masks, you guys are the Karens. Okay? Think of something else for those that want to assert their constitutional rights. That's not a Karen. All y'all that come out here and shit on everybody who doesn't agree with you just because that's not what the rules are right now. Y'all are the fucking Karens. Thomas Jefferson, alongside Black great-grandson, holds a mirror to U.S. Shannon Lanier, a TV host in Houston, is pictured in a photo in Smithsonian Magazine alongside his direct ancestor, Thomas Jefferson. Okay. Are we saying that it's bad that Thomas Jefferson has black descendants? Because I'm pretty sure that that's not really a bad thing. I think that's cool. You better not be implying that there were any untoward things that contributed to him having black descendants. 5 Americans who flew by private jet to Italy were reportedly denied entry due to that. You know what? The morals of the day in no way should be looking down on somebody having a little extramarital affair. Just gonna say that. So I know that's not what the problem is. I know, no, the problem is that it was probably one of his slaves. So it was obviously rape because she would have been coerced by somebody in power. Whatever. Thomas Jefferson was one of the people who did not like the institution of slavery. He was one of the people who did believe that the institution of slavery was wrong. So, in a world where you are in the minority of believing that this is wrong, then is it more virtuous to just completely abstain from engaging in that institution? Or is it better to engage in the institution that you disagree with, but to do it in such a way that you're making life better for, better than they would have it with somebody else? There was nothing that he could do at the time. There was nothing that he could do at the time to change anything. You know what he did do? He made sure that the Declaration of Independence talked about how all men are created equal. Okay? Do you honestly believe that he wasn't hoping that future generations would interpret it the way that we are interpreting it, which is the way it's actually stated that all men, all are created equal? Obviously. It's so obvious that that was the intention. They just couldn't have that fight right then because they needed to get away from England. They needed to get out of the king's clutches. It wasn't a fight that they could have amongst themselves when their fight was elsewhere. But anyway, I do believe that in that case, that it is more virtuous to engage in the thing that you don't like just to make things better for at least a handful of the people that are victims of this institution. That's all. And that kind of a person with that kind of a relationship with their, quote, slaves, unquote, is not the kind of person who's going to coerce their slave into anything. That's all I'm saying. 5 Americans who flew by private jet to Italy were reportedly denied entry due to the EU ban on visitors from countries with high coronavirus infection rates. Yeah, the EU put a ban on travelers from the United States, so why did they even try flying there? Why is this news? They should have known they weren't going to be let in. Officials on the island of Sardinia expressed frustration at having to exclude the U.S. travelers after their long flight, said reports. Well, I'm glad they feel bad about it, I guess, but, I mean, the Americans should have known. My friend Ghislaine, confidant, reveals how Maxwell's fling with Prince Andrew means she'll never sell him out. The revelation that Ghislaine Maxwell will never sell out the Duke of York comes from a controversial confidant who has known the Maxwells for years. United by their Jewish family's links to the Holocaust, Laura Goldman remains determined to defend her friend against what she says is something. I really don't care, honestly. Predominantly black armed protesters marched through Confederate Memorial Park in Georgia. The protesters all carried rifles, including military-type weapons, and some wore ammunition belts slung over their shoulders. Although African Americans appeared to account for the bulk of the marchers, protesters of various races, men and women alike, were among the group. So they marched through it. And you're going to tell me that that's all they did? I highly doubt that. A predominantly black group of heavily armed protesters marched through Stone Mountain Park near Atlanta on Saturday, calling for removal of the giant Confederate rock carving at the site that civil rights activists consider a monument to racism. Video footage of the Independence Day rally posted on social media showed scores of demonstrators dressed in black, many in paramilitary-style clothing and all wearing face scarves, quietly parading several abreast down a sidewalk at the park. Well, that sounds like Diva. Many of the protesters carried rifles, including military-type weapons, and some wore ammunition belts slung over their shoulders. Although African Americans appeared to account for the vast majority of the marchers, protesters of various races, men and women alike, were among the group. One video clip showed a leader of the demonstrators, who was not identified, shouting into a loudspeaker in a challenge to white supremacists who historically have used Stone Mountain as a rallying spot of their own. Oh. I don't see no white militia, he declared. We're here. Where are you at? We're in your house. Let's go. Okay, that doesn't sound like a peaceful protest. John Bankhead, a spokesman for the Stone Mountain Memorial Association, said the protesters were peaceful and orderly. Except if any white militia had come up, because then apparently there would have been a battle, which is not peaceful. It's a public park, a state park. We have these protests on both sides of the issue from time to time. We respect people's First Amendment right, Bankhead told NBC affiliate station WXIA-TV. We understand the sensitivities of the issue here at the park, so we respect that and allow them to come in as long as it's peaceful, which it has been. Stone Mountain, which reopened for the holiday weekend following a weeks-long closure over the coronavirus, has faced renewed calls for its removal since the May 25th death of George Floyd, an unarmed black man at the hands of Minneapolis police. Blah, 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 blah. 9 stories high and spanning the length of a football field, the bas-relief Stone Mountain sculpture, carved into a granite wall overlooking the Georgia countryside some 25 miles east of Atlanta, remains the largest such monument to America's Civil War Confederacy. It features the likenesses of Jefferson Davis, who was president of the 11-state Confederacy, and 2 of his legendary generals, Robert E. Lee and Thomas Stonewall Jackson. That sounds really cool. Stone Mountain has long held symbolism for white supremacists. The Ku Klux Klan, a hate group that was formed by Confederate Army veterans and has a history of lynchings and terror against black people, held its rebirth ceremony atop Stone Mountain in 1915 with flaming crosses. Klansmen still hold occasional gatherings in the shadows of the edifice, albeit now met with protesters behind police tape. Many of those cross burnings took place on or around July 4th. Oh, I see what you mean. I see what you're doing right there. Just because bad people with bad ideologies, just because they like something, does not mean that nobody else can like it. Stop giving cool stuff to bad people. And liking the idea of the Confederacy, the idea of rebelling, the idea of carving out your own independence, that's not necessarily a bad thing, okay? That's all I'm saying. Stay up to date on coronavirus. Get the latest developments and official updates on the global health panic from trusted sources. Trusted by whom? What's hot? Yahoo search. Black Lives Matter is trending top. Laura Prepon, coronavirus. Shanna Mokler, 2020 RAV4. HELOC rates. Don't know what that means. Michelle Keegan, William Shatner. Sneeze guard. Achoo. SpongeBob SquarePants. Whatever. And the Daily Yahoo from... Wait a minute. Oh. Okay, this was the Daily Yahoo from today. This is the Daily Yahoo from yesterday. Trump pushes racial division. Flouts virus rules at Rushmore. And I did basically say that I was going to click on that. Mount Rushmore National Memorial, South Dakota. At the foot of Mount Rushmore on the eve of Independence Day, President Donald Trump made a direct appeal to disaffected white voters 4 months before Election Day, accusing protesters who have pushed for racial justice of engaging in a merciless campaign to wipe out our history. I'm so sure that President Donald Trump specifically said, hey, I'm only talking to white voters right now. The president dug further into American divisions Friday, offering a discordant tone to an electorate battered by a panic and wounded by racial injustice following the high-profile killings of black people. And, of course, we are capitalizing black now. Not white, just black. He zeroed in on the desecration by some protesters of monuments and statues across the country that honor those who have benefited from slavery, including some past presidents. That's not what the monuments are about, though. This movement is openly attacking the... And just as I was saying before, some, such as Thomas Jefferson, were against slavery, but doing what they could at the time to make it better for at least a handful of people. And so they benefited other people. Slaves were benefited as much as they could be at the time. This movement is openly attacking the legacies of every person on Mount Rushmore, Trump said. He lamented cancel culture and charged that some on the political left hope to defame our heroes, erase our values, and indoctrinate our children. He said Americans should speak proudly of their heritage and shouldn't have to apologize for its history. Very true. We will not be terrorized, we will not be demeaned, and we will not be intimidated by bad, evil people, Trump added. It will not happen. The speech and fireworks at Mount Rushmore came against the backdrop of a panic that has killed over 125,000 Americans. The president flew across the nation to gather a big crowd of supporters. Oh, crowds are bad now. Crowds are bad at this time. Not bad when it's protesters. Not specifically the Black Lives Matter type of protesters. Not bad when it's riots. Oh, but it's bad now. Most of them maskless, and all of them flouting public health guidelines that recommend not gathering in large groups. Oh my God, you really just said that. Oh my gosh. The discord was heightened as the Trump campaign confirmed during the president's speech that Kimberly Guilfoyle, a top fundraiser for the campaign and the girlfriend of Trump's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., had tested positive for the coronavirus while in South Dakota. Both Guilfoyle and Trump Jr., who serves as a top surrogate for the president, are isolating themselves and have canceled public events, according to Sergio Gore, chief of staff to the Trump campaign's finance committee. During the speech, the president announced he was signing an executive order to establish the National Garden of American Heroes, a vast outdoor park that will feature the statues of the greatest Americans to ever live. Amid the campaign headwinds, the president has sharpened his focus on his most ardent base of supporters as concern grows inside his campaign that his poll numbers in the battleground states that will decide the 2020 election are slipping. Trump in recent weeks has increasingly lashed out at left-wing mobs, used a racist epithet to refer to the coronavirus. Oh, you mean the Chinese virus? 'Cause it originated in China. It's not racist. It originated in China. Just like so many other diseases throughout history are named for where they originated from. And visited the nation's southern border to spotlight progress on its 2016 campaign promise to build a U.S.-Mexico border wall. And that's you're saying that's a bad thing too? That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Give us more wall. The event, while not a campaign rally, had the feel of one as the friendly crowd greeted Trump with chants of 4 more years and cheered enthusiastically as he and First Lady Melania Trump took the stage. They think the American people are weak and soft and submissive, Trump said, but no, the American people are strong and proud, and they will not allow our country and all of its values, history, and culture to be taken from them. Oh, I know for a fact that way too many of the American people are weak and soft and submissive, but hopefully there are enough left that are strong and proud. Hopefully. But they gotta stand up and say something. They gotta make themselves known. Republican Governor Kristi Noem echoed Trump's attacks against his opponents who are trying to wipe away the lessons of history. Make no mistake, this is being done deliberately to discredit America's founding principles by discrediting the individuals who formed them, she said. The small town of Keystone, which lies a couple of miles from the monument, was buzzing with people Friday hoping to catch a glimpse of the fireworks and the president. Many wore pro-Trump t-shirts and hats. Few wore masks. Oh, so bad. This is going to rank up in the top 4th of Julys that I talk about, said Mike Steuer, who brought his family from Nebraska. Mike Harris of Rapid City, who said he was a Republican, wore a mask and waved an anti-Trump flag. He also was sporting a handgun on each hip. He said he was worried the event would spark a COVID-19 outbreak. I think it's a bad example being set by our president and our governor, Harris said. That's a Karen. Leaders of several Native American tribes in the region raised concerns that the event could lead to virus outbreaks among their members, who they say are particularly vulnerable to COVID-19 because of an underfunded healthcare system and chronic health conditions. So stay away from people. The president is putting our tribal members at risk to stage a photo op at one of our most sacred sites, said Harold Frazier, chairman of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. Some Native American groups used Trump's visit to protest the Mount Rushmore Memorial itself, pointing out that the Black Hills were taken from the Lakota people. I wonder how many tribal areas were conquered by the Lakota people back in the day. Do they feel bad about that now? More than 100 protesters, many Lakota, lined the road leading from Keystone to the monument, holding signs and playing Lakota music in 95-degree heat. Some held their fists in the air as cars loaded with event attendees passed by. Others held signs that read, "Protect South Dakota's first people. You are on stolen land, and dismantle white supremacy." Fuck you, people. "The president needs to open his eyes. We're people too, and it was our land first," said Henekaho Waste, a spiritual elder with the Oglala Sioux tribe. I wonder if the Lakota people and the Sioux people were friends and lived together in harmony back before the evil white men came and took their land. Pretty sure that wasn't the case with any of the different tribes. This fair and square. It's our land, fair and square, motherfuckers. About 15 protesters were arrested after blocking a road and missing a police-imposed deadline to leave. Several people who once oversaw fire danger as the National Memorial had said setting off fireworks over the forest was a bad idea. Several people who once oversaw fire danger at the National Memorial had said setting off fireworks over the forest was a bad idea that could lead to a large wildfire. Fireworks were called off after 2009 because a mountain pine beetle infestation increased the fire risks. Noam pushed to get the fireworks resumed soon after she was elected and enlisted Trump's help. The president brushed aside fire concerns earlier this year, saying, "What can burn? It's stone." Trump has presided over several large crowd events in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and an Arizona megachurch, even as health officials warn against large gatherings and recommend face masks and social distancing. He plans a July 4th celebration on the National Mall in Washington, despite health concerns from D.C.'s mayor. Trump and Melania Trump plan to host events from the White House South Lawn and from the Ellipse. Good for them. Oh, so divisive. British government to hold White House-style televised briefings. The British government will begin holding daily televised briefings with journalists later this year, throwing open a decades-old behind-closed-doors relationship between reporters and politicians. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the move was to meet public demand for information direct from ministers. Okay. Good for them, I guess. Meghan Markle's favorite espadrilles are majorly discounted at this secret sale. Kate Middleton and her sister Pippa are fans of Castaniere's summer shoes, too. Wow. Netflix's Jeffrey Epstein documentary director reacts to Ghislaine Maxwell arrest. The socialite has been charged on 6 counts. U.S. should put sanctions on Russian intelligence and defense sectors, says Pelosi. The United States should impose sanctions on Russia's intelligence and defense sectors, House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi said on Thursday after a briefing on reported Russian payments to Taliban militants to kill U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan. While not disclosing what she and other so-and-so, Cindy Bruna makes a splash in St. Tropez, plus Ariana Grande, Helen Hunt, and more. From Hollywood to New York and everywhere in between, see what your favorite stars are up to. This is such a weird mishmash. Featured 5 summer deals we love. Feeling like summer is all over the place this year? Yup, us too. Whether you're soaking it in from the beach on your beach or your balcony, our editors found deals to help you soak in summer your way. Shop our curated summer deals on Yahoo Shopping. What's hot? Yahoo search. Yeah. Turning now. Oh, Black Lives Matter. Sandra Lee, coronavirus. Angelica Schuyler, California closets. Employment lawyers. Ashley Graham. Cindy Bruna. Is that who's in that picture? I have no idea who that is. Lou Pearlman, Dyson, Canada. Okie dokie. That's it for our Super Smash. Goodbye.